Excuse me, y'all. Setting up my environment. Uh, so this video, I'm about to start reading this book called Melanin, A Key to Freedom. And it's by Richard King. All right. So Ashe and big up and shout out Richard King, because he was one of the ones on the forefront he was the forefront. He was the beginning of the teachings of understanding the importance of what we call melanin, which is the pigmentation, a darker pigmentation of the skin. And it doesn't always come out as, this dark or whatever. We know it's definitely it is a multicolored multicolored tones, meaning that it goes from light to dark on the spectrum. You know what I'm saying? It's representing the color spectrum, from red to purple. And that's why you have the lighter colors, and they be calling people red bones and stuff. And then in Africa, you have them calling real dark niggas purple, because it's literally the tones. And so you have the undertone, like a red tone, a yellow tone, and a greenish whatever tone, based upon the pigmentation and the way that the melanin chooses to express itself. But please know that the melanin is expressing itself on a physical level, meaning your complexion or tone, also the dances and things, the rhythm and the vibrations of the people, and through sports and through singing and all those things. So that's what I really wanted to talk about. So we know that everything is an intelligence, but melanin is a very, very advanced spiritual intelligence that they downplayed and made it seem like it was a weakness, because they wanted us to think that, melanin was a weakness, and therefore you got niggas in Jamaica and other parts of the world bleaching their skin and bleaching and trying to kill their melanin and suppress their greatness in order to look like a European, because they've been told that is a more beautiful, because this is all based on mundane shit, the more beautiful expression of color, right? And that's all done through brainwashing and programming, through TV, movies, and the news, things of that nature, because they knew that if they controlled these things, they would be able to put out the images that they wanted to put out, in order for the melanated beings to think that we were less than, were not worthy, and were inferior to quote unquote Europeans, right? So even though they were putting out these images of Jesus and the people from the Bible as a whole, and then they would give you these characters on TV and movies to resemble those characters from the Bible, so that you can buy into the image that goes along with that story. And Black people, African people, have always understood that Black people learn from the images that go along with the stories, because we understand that the images represent imagination, and the imagination is where the motherfucking intelligence dwells. It's how your pineal actually is able to grow and become the super muscle that it is, part of you that makes you, God. Actually, it is your God's eye. So it's really the way that God, or your subconscious mind, or your soul sees this world. And so if they control your imagination, they control how you truly see this world. And that's everything. That is everything. But if you start to look at things a little bit deeper, and you start to uncover things, you start to dig and become the motherfucking I keep saying scientists that you're meant to be. You know, they call themselves archaeologists, you know, those who dig deep within the earth in order to uncover history and things of that nature. They look for artifacts and things of that nature, right? But we don't have to dig physically to find that information, because everything that we need to know is already in us. So we just have to dig deep within ourselves in order to uncover those truths and that information, okay? It's inside of you, right? That is something that you are naturally given and gifted with. It's your birthright, and it's a true abundance. Knowledge is the abundance, because knowledge is the light, and light is the abundance. And the more light that you accumulate, the brighter you shine, and you're able to really contact the ancestors that dwell on those higher planes, and they have that universal information that you so need. You're activating light codes within yourself, because you are a true light code. All right. But anywho's, what I really wanted to bring home is, so the reason that they put so much money and they give so much money to the entertainers, the athletes, the singers, the dancers, well, the singer dancer is the same thing, because the person that performs in the videos now, well, not now, but definitely when I was growing up, they had to have choreography, dancing and things, all that nigga shit. So dancing, singing, playing sports of any kind, those being like the trinity of where the money goes in entertainment, because they understood that when they suppress the greatness of the melanin still has to express itself. And it chooses, and it has no choice based upon the low frequency that niggas are vibrating at, to express itself through entertainment. So it went from the quote unquote intellectual beings who were like the leaders, like the Malcolm X's and Muhammad, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and Martin Luther Kings and things of that nature. And this is not to say that they did not incarnate into a human form so that they were flawed. But when I talk about the symbol that they represented, they were starting to represent the deity symbols from the Bible. They had to play out these stories that we have been programmed to think in order for our souls to be sparked, to start to see the true image. They had to portray the true image. They had to come and take over that image that had been usurped, and they had given us a fraudulent spirit in a quote unquote European, in the places that belonged to the melanated gods. And this is not to like be on an ego trip, because that's the difference. I realize the reason why so many Europeans get offended when melanated people speak like this is because when they speak like this, or when the people that are their quote unquote leaders or forefathers spoke like this, it was in a way to demean someone else. So if you had somebody who was quote unquote superior, they had to be an inferior. That's the two sides of the coin. That's a law of polarity. But when you are vibrating at a heart chakra base or level and higher, you start to really understand that we never, ever, when we're vibrating in our true self, even, think like that. We just know that everything is connected and that all is God. And that the more you develop in your heart chakra space, the more you are able to have an understanding and compassion for all. It's not based upon a jealousy, a envy, a selfishness, a hate, or any of those things. It's literally based upon the universal love, and which is unconditional love. So you're not even thinking like that. But I'm just speaking from a truthful space. This is the information that I've been given and that I've been able to activate within myself to realize that's why we dominate on all these different levels when it comes to the mundane shit, because if we're not utilizing on a spiritual base, it has to express itself somewhere. And if it expresses itself, it's going to dominate it. That's why money is not really put into intellectual pursuits like that. I'm not saying that they don't fund all these medical things when they want to fund the scientists in order to try to suppress that greatness. But they don't realize when even though they're trying to suppress that greatness, when we see someone, an image of an entertainer who's going out there and getting it in the unconscious level, you still showing the greatness of a nigga, because you can't suppress that melanin. It is still genius. In whatever form it expresses itself. And you can't copycat it. You can try, but nobody's going to really feel it. They may like what they hear, but feeling is a totally different thing. You can't just focus on what their mind. You also have to deal with the heart, because the heart is a huge aspect of the mind. It is what magnetizes this reality. So when the more and more that we see these images, like the Kobe Bryants, you know what I'm saying, the fallen, the quote unquote ones that look like they fail because they die, when really they're being risen up, you know what I'm saying, and what really matters, which is spirit. And when it rises up in spirit, it rises up inside of us. It activates something inside of us. So the more and more of us get stirred, awoke, when we lose one that made a great impact, when we lose a great old one that made an impact. So melanin is powerful, y'all. It is really, really powerful. And the more and more you travel into the deepest crevices of your subconscious mind and you deal with your own human issues, the more and more you're able to tap into the light that is your true self. So I'm going to end the video on that note. I really appreciate you guys for tuning in. Peace, y'all. Let me end this video. Appreciate y'all.